What is going on, my broskies? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and we finally have a little piece of information to go off of, man. It just feels like it's been forever since part 1 started, and they did announce in the official reveal that this would be a 3-part celebration. We had part 1 with Borsalino, we had Luffy, we had Nami. Now we're moving on to the next part of the celebration, so we just got this video officially posted on the Twitter at news time today, showing Egghead erupting, and then the text, pacifistas stand down. We have some electricity, some haki going on. More information coming soon, May 25th, which is on Sunday at 7 p.m. 1900 PST time. So news time on Sunday, we are going to get official information in regards to the next batch. Now, obviously, if you guys are following exactly what this was the text that Saint Garcia Saturn had said as soon as he landed on Egghead Island. So he is going to be dropping this big bad boy right here. This is going to be the next upcoming, I would suggest it to be a Super Sugo Fest exclusive, which is extremely exciting. I mean, a lot of people have been waiting for this moment for a long time, ever since it was officially revealed in the manga. Obviously, we had the episode come out, and it's so awesome to see that we finally have this. So we've got info coming on Sunday. We're not too sure if there's going to be a data download before that point. I would say, considering it's a big celebration, big Super Sugo, I would guess what they're going to do is they're going to officially reveal the information on the social media pages, and then a handful of hours after the fact, there'll be a data download pushing everything into the game. Now, we know that Saint Garcia Saturn is going to be dropping. That's a given. That is 100% going to happen. What we don't know is that what's coming alongside him in terms of rare recruits, in terms of potentially other Sugo Fest exclusive characters. There's a bunch of other characters that could be coming out. So I guess let's actually discuss that before we discuss what I think Saturn might do in terms of a treasure cruise unit, because we haven't had the Gorosei as a dedicated character, especially not with this kind of ability. So this is going to be kind of fresh, and hopefully we get some unique abilities for this character moving forward. We'll see. But I have a couple of characters that I've got 4 different units that I'll show you guys in just a moment in terms of what we can potentially expect. So I'll show you guys the character, like I'll range it from, we'll show characters that I think are very, very low chance of happening, and we'll scale all the way up to the end in terms of characters that I think have a much higher chance of occurring, okay? So the first character that I want to talk about is the character that I would love to see the most in coming alongside this guy. However, I feel like they could wait a little bit longer and potentially save this as a potential part 3 or for another celebration in the future. And that first character would be this guy right here. This guy was officially revealed. His official color scheme was shown in the anime in the most recent episode, which is Figureland Garling. This is his younger form during what's it called? God Valley, right? Now, I gotta say, this fit is absolutely diabolical. No one thought that his color scheme was going to look like this. It looks ridiculous, but still, character is extremely powerful, and I think that having a character like this alongside Saturn would be an enormous Part 2 celebration. You could have both of these characters, both part of the World Government tag. They also could both be Celestial Dragon tags. You could have some dope stuff with characters that really don't have representation. You could just introduce a whole new archetype into One Piece Treasure Cruise with the potential release of Garling with Saturn. I think that would be a pretty cool release. However, as cool as that might be, I think that the chances of Garling debuting right now with Saturn are relatively low. I would love it to happen, just don't think it's a really viable thing. I think that this definitely will come out as a character sometime this year. I just don't expect it to be with Saturn. If it does end up being that, then part 2 is going to be crazy. I'd be so pumped to see what these characters do. So let's move on. A character that I think has a slightly higher chance of occurring is the Seraphim. I think that there's a very good chance that debuting with Saturn would be maybe like a group Seraphim legend. Now, even though I think mechanically it would be terrible to have the Seraphim in one unit, because a lot of the other Seraphim can actually support each other, and I do think that it would be a bit of an L if that were the case, if they would have all of these 4 characters in one. We have had another character in the past debut like this. I believe it was a treasure map rare recruit, and I think it was 3 of the Seraphims were together in one character. So they have done it in the past, but as a Sugo Fest exclusive to debut alongside Saturn, I think it's a relatively decent like chance of occurring, honestly. And again, you could have this character have some kind of synergy with the with Saturn. I think you could make him driven focused, cerebral focused, powerhouse focused. They all could kind of work in that kind of scheme. So I think that while it wouldn't be the most exciting character to debut alongside the release of Saturn, I think it's just a relatively higher chance of occurring compared to what Garling is, right? So I think that this could happen, and hopefully if they did do something like this, would like to see some pretty interesting mechanics, but again, this wouldn't be a very exciting release. Now, moving on, another character, or characters, I guess, that I think would be a decent chance of occurring with Saturn would be a Zora and Rob Lucci. Now, even though we are coming off of kind of like the global anniversary, which happened in like late February / early March, we had the release of Zoro Kaku, and then we had Lucci Luffy, and then if you're just going to switch up those units and have a Zoro and a Lucci, potentially like Saturn as a dedicated solo unit, and then you have a versus legend of Luffy versus Lucci, again, because of the fact that Saturn is world government related, I think it would make sense if you have a new Rob Lucci that is also world government related in terms of the character tags, and you can have synergy in that regard. And then you could even have Zoro be a potential driven unit, and if Saturn ends up being driven focused as well, you could have both sides, like Rob Lucci and Zoro, actually work with Saturn. I think that would actually make sense. But again, I don't really think that it's hard to say, honestly, what could be debuting alongside Saturn. My assumption is there's going to be more than one legend here. Saturn is obviously going to be the headliner character of this Part 2 celebration, but I think it's a very good chance that either A, we get another normal legend, or B, it's an anniversary legend debuting alongside Saturn. I'm not expecting there to be 2 Super Sugofest exclusives on Saturn's Sugofest part. I'm assuming it's Saturn is a Super Sugo, and then an additional other legend that is normal or anniversary level. So I think Azora and Lucci would be a really cool character. Obviously, animations would go absolutely wild. But again, it's really hard to say whether or not this is viable, considering we did have a relatively recent Lucci and Zora celebration. So it would be kind of overwhelming, especially, I mean, when you look at this month, we had 6+ the 6+ Dex Zora into 6+ Quick, and then you had the Super Type Zora, who is in the current Pyre Rumble season, is going to be super evolving in the next Kizuna Clash. So I think having another overlap of Zora would make sense. Potentially, what they could do is just scrap Zora together and just make it a new Rob Lucci debuting with Saturn. That could also work too. And honestly, I would kind of prefer that. Honestly, a new solo Rob Lucci would be thumbs up for me. Now, moving on to the final character in terms of what could happen, I think it's a really decent shot that we could just get another Bonnie. And yes, we did just get a Sabo Bonnie from the Reverie at the end of April, so that is a little strange. So I guess like a month after the fact, we get another Bonnie would be kind of wild. But I do think that there is a somewhat decent chance that we get another Bonnie. Obviously, when Saturn first got revealed in the anime and manga, the first character to have like straight up confrontation with that character was Bonnie. So, and obviously they have a history as well. So I do think that it's a decent chance for us to have a new solo Bonnie legend from Egghead, and kind of like not make these characters work together, you know, per se, but have it like, you know, you have one side being Saturn, and then you have more support potentially for Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, a new Sai Bonnie that could work with Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, who's free spirit focused. I think that could work, right? Again, we'll have to wait and see, but what I do hope as well is I really do hope that Saturn can somehow still give support to Borsalino, because Borsalino in this celebration has been amazing and is by far and away my favorite character of the entire batch. So I really hope that this gives us some more direct support for Kizaru. But I now want to talk about what we could potentially see in terms of abilities for Saint Garcia Saturn. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to jump over to the wiki page for Saturn. There may be some manga spoilers / like anime spoilers, should I say. So if you don't want to be spoiled in regards to potential effects that he does and how it could kind of translate into Treasure Cruise terms, I would advise to probably leave the video now. But let's go ahead and jump over to his wiki page and kind of break down his abilities. So in terms of what we could expect from Saturn, he is considered a scientist. That makes sense. So he's probably going to be world government tag. He's probably going to be a scientist. He's probably going to have the Celestial Dragon tag. We know those 3 are pretty much confirmed going to be there. But let's see if we can find anything else in terms of what his effects are. Now, one thing that I did kind of overlook, I didn't actually realize that it was 100% confirmed that he actually does have a Devil Fruit. It does mention here that it's a mythical Gyuki, so the fact that it's a mythical Zoan type, he's going to have that tag as well. And because of that, Potential could have like a super tandem ability, could work with Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, which is pretty crazy. So we'll have to wait and see. But my assumption is I'm going to guess that Saturn has either a super tandem ability that can make the super tandem boost of both Luffy and Kizaru work, or he's going to have a Rush Suga special. I think one of those two make a lot of sense. Final Tap would be underwhelming for sure, but I think if it's Rush or super tandem, I would be all for that. So in terms of other things that is kind of important about this guy, the thing about him is obviously he's a spider. He's like a spider-focused character. He has abilities in his kit to, well, it says here, like, try to impale enemies with his legs, managing to pierce even Kuma's stronger than steel body. So, hey, penetrating defensive effects, I'm all for that, because those type of abilities are absurdly strong. We know as well that he is insanely durable. He's very durable, and he has obviously like regenerative type of abilities. And the big thing with his kit that I was talking with my chat on stream when we were playing Treasure Map this morning, the fact that he has the ability to generate like poison type of abilities. So it would be kind of interesting if Saturn is like solely focused around like inflicting poison on the enemy, and it's like the most absurdly broken poison that we've seen. So like poison that does crazy high damage. I know that like the best poison in the game I think is the Reiju poison, right? Like that Reiju poison goes crazy, but I think once it does like the huge hit of damage on the opponent, it removes it. Like it activates as if like Reiju consumes the poison off of the enemy and then deals damage when she consumes it. So if we could see a new form of poison that is like absurdly strong just for Saturn, and maybe has an ability similar to like 6+ Magellan, where he can inflict poison through immunity as a captain, and then potentially with a special as well, and even maybe have the captain effect says, you know, if you tap on this character with X slot, inflict poison that goes through immunity on the enemy, but it's like one of his absurdly powerful poisons. And then maybe have some type of, you know, conditional boost activated somewhere. Maybe if he could activate poison and a poison conditional boost in the middle of the tap timing chain, that could be pretty cool. Maybe he has double stacking conditional boost and he himself can provide both conditional boosts. That would be crazy levels of broken. But honestly, like very similar to Kizaru, I really hope that he has a captain ability that is very powerful in the fact that it has great utility. Of course, he's going to have crazy high damage numbers. I don't think that was ever really in question, but very similar to like Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, where they have a lot of damage, they lack utility in that captain effect. So I really hope that this guy has high damage and high utility. I want this guy to legitimately be one of the top 5 best legends in the game, because I don't think part 1 of this celebration really brought us that. It gave us abilities of characters that are very strong, but they're not well-rounded. They're not perfect. They do have flaws. Whereas the 10th anniversary characters, honestly, like almost all of the 10th anniversary characters that came out last year, they hardly have any flaws, realistically speaking. And Zoro and Sanji, I mean, while they're not a perfect unit either, their captain ability isn't great. The rest of their abilities make other characters so much greater, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because if this character is a flop and this character doesn't bring high levels of power and brings mass changes to the meta of the game, I think people are going to be pretty upset. I mean, I know I'm going to be upset if that's the case. In terms of other things, like it mentions like the immortality effect, so I expect him to have crazy good durability, maybe high damage reduction, lots of healing. Another thing that I was kind of suspecting is very similar to the Psy Gear 5 Legend Luffy, not the Luffy Zoro Sanji that debuted recently, but the original, the first Gear 5 that first came out. He had an ability in his captain effect where when you reach 0 HP, he would revive with full HP and then transform into Gear 5. So maybe if this guy has an ability like that, where, you know, if you fall to 0 HP, he fully revives and then you get an additional layer of power once the revive is triggered, I think that would be pretty neat as well. He has like the telepathy and the really high haki and stuff. So again, they could do lots of crazy things with this. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with this guy, because, I mean, even an entrance animation, right? Maybe it's like, you know, as soon as you start the quest, entrance animation occurs with this really cool scene that happened in the anime when he first debuted for the first time. And then it's like it activates his special at the start of the quest, which maybe it's kind of like V1 Kaido, right? When as soon as you start the quest, every turn you're doing end of turn damage, and every time you enter a new stage, you do a health cut. What if he does that, but it's like high levels of poison and end of turn damage, and it goes through normal attacks only, and it goes through immunity, like stuff like that, like new like OP V1 Kaido, but like with poison on top of it. Like I think that would be pretty sick. So dude, I'm getting myself way too hyped up, because look, we should just keep our expectations in check, because we are kind of we're getting too excited for this guy, but we're just hoping that he's super, super good. Of course, when we get the information, we're going to talk about it. We're going to make a bunch of videos. I will likely live stream when the news drops so we can react to it in time. So if you guys are interested in that, go down below to the description of the video and follow me on Twitch. Make sure you ring that bell so you know exactly when we live stream. We are going to definitely react to this when that info drops. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.